ePonti. We're making Mondays better for contractors and their customers. After logging in ePonti, I went into the projects section in here. Projects are where the difference between a quote and a project is basically now I'm able to, part of the project is I have all those parts that were in a quote, but now I can order those parts, I can assign those parts to get completed, and I have a few other sections inside of a project that quotes do not have. So let's take a quick look at what's going on here. So I'm going to open up this one here. As all the other layouts situation, you have the basic information about the project. Over here you have all your activities. And again, I can create all these other activities for this. I have my contacts just like I have in any other one. But now I have a few other tabs here. One, I have milestones. Milestones are points of interest, are points of reminders that you need to accomplish on a job based off of the start or finish of each one of the various stages with various lead times and that kind of a thing. And we'll get into more detail on how to create milestones. Look for the milestones podcast on it to really give you good in-depth of what milestones happen to it. Just like in quote, you have a list of all your parts that are going on the project. What you don't have in quote, changes or change order requests, those types of things, or revisions to a job. That is where a customer comes along and says, oh, from the original contract, I don't like this, I want this. Or because it's a remodel, you find out that you need to do this because of you opened up the wall. That's where changes come into place. And I can have multiple change order requests sitting inside of a project which has no effect on the job until it gets approved. So take a look at our podcast on change order requests in ePonti for more detail on how this is done, because this one is kind of just give you a quick overview of what projects are all about. Now that we have the parts, we have to do two things to those parts. One, we have to order those parts, and we have to assign those parts to get installed. So this is where work orders and purchasing come into play. Now we create purchase order requests inside of ePonti. So I'm requesting these parts to be received by a particular date so that I can accomplish that. So let's take a look how to create a purchase order real quick. So I'm going to just go back to parts. It shows me all the parts that I have in the list. So I can either individually select them or I can select all of those and then say new POR. Now again, as a project manager, I'm going to take a look at, okay, what do I need? When do you need it by? You're doing the schedule. You need to know that. So I need maybe, okay, the 15th is when we're planning to install them. So I should get them the day before. So let's say I need them on the 14th. Say okay. It then automatically generates a purchase order request. On this grid, it shows you what purchase order request it's assigned to so that you can quickly look those up. If it's blank, they haven't been received. And that's how easy it is to generate a purchase order request. That goes to the procurement person. They're then able to determine, am I going to order these directly from the vendor, or am I going to then transfer them out of my current inventory to fulfill that? That's you as a project manager, you don't care about that. You just said, hey, these are the parts I need and I need them by this date. Now that once the parts have come in, now I'm worried about the assignment process of it. All I have to do is select those same items, either individually or all of them, and then click on the assign icon button here. Then based off of the products that you selected, it tells you what the estimated hours were. You then say, oh, I'm requesting it because now as a project manager, I'm requesting this date for these people to do this job. Then it goes to the scheduler who then verifies it. Okay? Then once it's been scheduled, then you as a project manager then verifies it one more time to make sure everything's on schedule. Then you assign it to your installer. And that's a very simple process. So I say requested. And again, depending on your resources, you'd see here in the list. This would pop up and you notice this is 8 hours. It says 1.142 days. I'm like, huh? 8 hours? Well, in actuality, yes, you're probably paying somebody for an 8-hour day, but do they really work 8 hours in one day? Probably not. So I'm going to say, well, let's schedule them out the 15th and the 16th, just in case. You hope they finish in the first day, but let's schedule them for those 2 days. And there we are. Hit save. Then it creates those work orders. A couple other things that you could do with inside of a project. You could select those items and say, hey, they came in, but I need them to be delivered because they're too big for the guy that's going to the job site. I could also create punch lists. These are things that are going on that occur, as you walk through. I punch list items. I can then assign them to somebody. So by creating a new punch list, now that you created it, you created an issue. Now I can assign it, and here it is. Estimated 1 hour. They're going to do it by the 17th. I talked to the customer. They're going to be there at 10 o'clock. It has been assigned labor, and I'm going to assign it to there, and done. So now I've created a punch list item, assigned it to somebody to complete, to get done. Now I have accountability, and just like quotes, I have the capabilities of uploading any type of files to this, either through here or because this is linked to Dropbox, be able to do it inside of Dropbox. That gives you a quick overview of what a project is inside of ePonti. Take a closer look at our podcast on milestones, changes, purchasing in the procurement side situation, and other ones for more detail specifically related to projects. Thank you for watching the ePonti podcast. For more information, give us a call, email us, or visit us at